Head of Business Development at Eminence Ways र आज यो प्रोग्राममा चाहिँ म फर्मल होस्टको रूपमा चाहिँ हजुरको अगाडि उपस्थित छु र फर्मली यो प्रोग्रामलाई अब अगाडि बढाउनु पर्दा सो वी हेभ फायरसाइड च्याट र यसको लागि चाहिँ आई लाइक टु कल अपन स्टेज मिस्टर मिलन राज नेपाली ही इज द VP फ्रम सेन्टर अफ साइबर सेक्युरिटी रिसर्च एन्ड इनोभेसन र प्यानलिस्टमा हुनुहुन्छ प्रहलाद गिरिज्यू. He is Deputy Director from Nepal Rashtra Bank, and Kumar Pudaseniju. So he is Senior Section Chief Cyber Security Officer from ADBL. So with respect them on stage, please. So with that, so stage is all yours, sir. Now,
I want to introduce my fellow panelists, Mr. Prahlad Giri, sir, Deputy Director at the Nepal Rashtra Bank, and Mr. Kumar sir, Senior Section Chief Network and Cyber Security at Agriculture Development Bank. Now I'd like to start this fireside chat. Okay, with the permission of the organizer, I'm going to start my fireside chat here. So, dear fellow panelists, good afternoon. Hope you are doing well. So, how are you, sir? Prahlad, sir.
I'm fine, thank you, and thank you, the organizer, evangelist, and Eminence Ways, and other organizations here to organize such a splendid program, which is very conducive at the moment where the policy and regulation is being formulated by the regulators, especially to leverage the potential of the new innovations. At the same time, we also do concern very deeply and vehemently regarding the security issues. This is a high time that they have organized, and I must thank them, and I'm very thrilled to share my insights, whatever I just know. Thank you.
And Kumar Pudaseniju, sir.
Thank you, Milan sir. Thank you, organizer, for inviting me as a speaker in Fireside Chat. Definitely the world is flat and global economic plane is being leveled. We are in the same global plane. So, we'll be discussing about some concepts and ideas regarding fintech innovations. Thank you, Milan sir. Thank you very much.
Most welcome, sir. I think I forgot one thing. I forgot to introduce myself, right? Okay, my name is Milan Raj Nepali. I'm the Vice President at Center for Cybersecurity Research and Innovation, and I'm an academician, I'm an author, whatever you known to me, I'm Milan, okay? A friend of you. Okay. It's a great pleasure to moderate panel discussion with such an eminent panelist on the topic. Our topic is we have a driving innovation in a financial sector, right? The panel will discuss various insight on innovative technologies in financial sector industry, and from the regulatory perspective, the financial sector regulator. Today, I want to start with a rather wise statement by Bill Gates in 1994. He said that banking is necessary, but banks are not. While this comment at this time may have sounded like a bunch of technocrat gibberish, it's proven prescient over the last 2 decades. Advances in technology are causing the banking industry to develop faster with the focus of efficiency, transparency, and better customer experience. With this inspiration, I shall be asking views on financial sector industry from Mr. Kumar sir and regulatory perspective from Mr. Prahlad sir. Okay, here I go. I'll put the first question. Question number 1 to Kumar sir. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Here goes the question. How financial industries are coping with fintech innovation in terms of infrastructure and technology?
Thank you, Milan sir. With the quote from Bill Gates, banking is necessary, but no banks. Okay, we talk about Gen Z. We are living in an age of Gen Z, not Gen X and Gen Y. Fintech innovations is growing exponentially, and we are adapting to. So we talk about Gen Z, we talk about blockchain, we talk about AI and machine learning, we talk about cloud computing, we talk about no code, zero code. So we talk about different technologies as a part of fintech ecosystems. We traveled 2 events, one in Dubai and one in Singapore. During Singapore FinTech Festival, with my eminent panelist, Mr. Pranad Giri. So we had an opportunity to visit different stalls. What we identified is, every stall talks about blockchain and Web 3.0. So fintech industry is leaping, is exponentially growing. But it is only possible and can be only possible through multi-stakeholder approach, inclusion. We can only innovate through holistic approach. If you don't follow holistic approach, then definitely we cannot innovate fintech industries. And the last point is architecture. So the topic is modern architecture. Instead of art architecture, we should enable holistic approach. We should have multi-stakeholder consultations, and then a proper layered approach, proper policies, procedures, and guidelines, which will be basically supported by regulators. Central Bank. Thank you, Milan sir. I guess I've answered your question.
Yeah, most welcome, and thank you as well. Thank you, Kumar sir, for your insight. As you said, fintech policy are done by the regulatory body. So I want to go to the Prahlad sir. What are the regulatory initiatives that has taken by Central Bank, Nepal Rashtra Bank, to help financial institutions to enable fintech innovation?
Thank you, Milanji. I can see many participants here quite knowing each other, and they are quite enthusiastic towards the innovation and the technology. Am I comfortable to speak in English, or should I speak Nepali as well? दुईटैमा भन्दा ठीक हुन्छ हैन, because the medium of communication has to be in such a manner that the audience can grasp it so efficiently, right? Well, in the global context, technology is completely changing. Earlier we had one kind of technology, and later on the later technology has superseded that technology. Now what is happening globally, even in our region, is that technology is running first and the policy and regulation thereafter. हाम्रो देशमा पनि त्यही भइरहेछ. पहिला सुरुमा इनोभेसन टेक्नोलोजी इज कमिङ, देन त्यसलाई चाहिँ नि पोलिसी रेगुलेसनले फलो गर्ने जस्तो छ. किनभने इट्स अल अबाउट द इनोभेसन. टेक्नोलोजी यति एडभान्स भइसक्यो, त्यसको उसमा चाहिँ हामीले त्यसलाई टाइमली एडाप्ट गर्न सकेनौँ भने के हुन्छ, त्यो चाहिँ हामी पछि पर्छौँ कि त्यसको बेनिफिटबाट हामी उ गर्छौँ कि भन्ने हामीलाई लाग्छ. त्यो हुनाले कुनै एउटा पर्टिकुलर रेगुलेटरले मात्रै होइन, यो इन्टायर इकोसिस्टमको प्लेयर्स, मल्टी स्टेक होल्डर्सको प्लेयरलाई बुझ्नुपर्छ. जस्तो फिनान्सियल सिस्टममा युज हुने टेक्नोलोजी र इनोभेसन भने त केवल सेन्ट्रल ब्याङ्कको मात्रै जुरिस्डिक्सन होइन नि, होइन. फर्स्ट अफ अल तर मल्टी स्टेक होल्डर्स, नेटवर्कको हेरौँ कुरा, गभर्मेन्टको पोलिसी पनि हुन्छ, ब्याङ्कको या कम्पनीजहरूको फर्म्सहरूको एडाप्टेसन टेक्नोलोजी हुन्छ. यहाँ त मल्टी स्टेक होल्डर्स कोलाबोरेसनले मात्रै सक्छ. द्याट्स वाइ आइ एम जस्ट फोकसिङ अन द कोलाबोरेसन पार्ट अफ थिङ. वाट सेन्ट्रल ब्याङ्क इज डुइङ टु प्रमोट द इनोभेसन आई विल कम लेटर अन. द हाउ, बट वी निड टु अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड सो डिपली हाउ डु वी टेक द इमर्जिङ इनोभेसन्स. Are we taking it just as it comes, or are we taking so seriously so as to adapt this according to our need and for the convenience of our customers or our clients? कुन हिसाबले हामी लिइरहेका छौँ, त्यसलाई एडाप्ट कसरी गर्ने? There are so many innovations. यस्तो आयो उस्तो आयो, मसिन लर्निङ, आर्टिफिसियल इन्टेलिजेन्स, ब्लकचेन, अहिले वेब 3.0, मेटाभर्सको कुराहरू गरिरहेका छौँ. There are so many emerging technology. यस्तो टेक्नोलोजी आएको छ जुन हामीलाई त्यो बारेमा जानकारी छैन. मतलब apart from the, मतलब except from the those who are in the quite technology field, होइन? त त्यसको लागि चाहिँ what we need a collaboration, we need a coordination. So नेपालमा एउटा policy regulations को पनि development lacking जहाँ यदि छ भने त्यहाँ के को कारणले भएको भन्दाखेरि lack of the coordination, multi stakeholder coordination नै छैन. त्यो हुनाले I first primarily focus on the coordination and the collaboration part first of all. है मिलनजी? अब सेन्ट्रल ब्याङ्कले के गर्यो, द्याट्स अनदर थिङ, त्यो कम आउँदैछ. बट वी निड टु हेभ अ प्रपर थिङ्किङ, वी निड टु आइडेन्टिफाई, होइन, पोलिसी रेगुलेसनको कुरा होस्. हामीले यहाँ यस्तो, अब तपाईँलाई थाहा छ एफडिआई छ नि, फरेन डाइरेक्ट इन्भेस्टमेन्ट, एउटा नेपालमा भित्राउने भने मल्टी एजेन्सीको चाहिँ नि रोल छ त्यहाँ. एउटा सिङ्गल पर्टिकुलर गभर्मेन्ट एजेन्सीको मात्रै होइन, मल्टी एजेन्सीको रोल छ त्यहाँ. त्यो हुनाले त्यस्तै किसिमले इनोभेसनलाई एन्ड टु यो टेक्नोलोजीलाई, लेटेस्ट टेक्नोलोजीलाई प्रमोट गर्नलाई, त्यसलाई एडाप्ट गर्नलाई, त्यसलाई त्यसको पोटेन्सियललाई लिभरेज गर्नलाई, वी निड टु अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड इन सच अ वे द्याट we are creating such an environment, enabling environment, I would focus on that part, enabling environment in order to focus for the coordination and potential collaboration at first. कुरा त गरौँ हामी. जस्तो तपाईँले एउटा इक्जाम्पल दिउँ है, राष्ट्र ब्याङ्कले कुनै सर्कुलर ल्यायो, अब ब्याङ्किङ सेक्टरसँग प्रपर कन्सेप्ट ल्याएर मोनिटरी पोलिसीहरू जारी गर्छ, स्वाटै ल्याइदियो भने के हुन्छ, हल्ला हुन्छ नि, हामीसँग सल्लाह गरेन, हामीसँग कन्सल्टेसन गरेन. So, there is a high demand, right? I mean, high demand for the coordination and collaboration stack. Secondly, what I said, how much we have to assess our current financial landscape or the ecosystem. Assess गर्नु पर्यो नि. हाम्रो डिमान्ड साइड भनेको एन्ड युजर, जनता, जो युजर छ, जसले सेवा पाउने हो, सेवाग्राही. How much is the digital enthusiasm they have, first of all, and how much, what is their requirements? Will they become convenient enough in order to have those kind of technical advancement, what we are planning as a policy or regulation? That has to be taken into consideration so significantly, then only we can proceed for the most other steps. Third, now what central banks are doing? Central bank is doing its way. Central bank in Nepal now, as per the monetary policy announcement, in order to promote the innovation, as I said, also leverage the potential of the technology, Central Bank is going to establish the innovation hub as well as the regulatory sandbox very soon. And Nepal Rashtra Bank has now, created a special task force within some departments, and the pre-assessment study has begun to establish the innovation hub and the regulatory sandbox. So now the innovation hub is made for the knowledge exchange platform for the innovators or the fintech companies and the tools maker or someone like that. And secondly, the regulatory sandbox, it is for the testing in the financial system of the particular application or tools in a controlled environment, in a regulatory relaxation or kind of facilitation. So these two developments is taking place, and more. Nepal Rashtra Bank just has finished the study of the central bank digital currency, that is called the CBDC, and the study report has been published in the website for the public consultation, and whoever is interested, you can download that document, and you can also send the views and feedbacks to Nepal Rashtra Bank. And we are now working one more development is taking place, that is called the P2P lending and equity crowdfunding. Nepal Rashtra Bank has now started to study on P2P lending and equity crowdfunding. That is also a technological platform for the certain segment of the financial ecosystem. And we have identified those segments is the MSME and the startups, to promote the startups, and it is written in the monetary policy.
Okay, thank you, sir, for such insightful views. Okay, due to the time restraints, I'm going to conclude this session by asking one question, and the panelists have to conclude with one sentence. Okay, here it goes to the Kumar sir, to both the panelists, but I'll start with Kumar sir. in one sentence, how we can adopt and enhance fintech innovation? Please, Commercial.
The question is too complex, Milan sir. In one sentence, fintech innovations for value proposition and return on investments for fintech is only through maintaining governance, compliance, and risks. It's on GRC. If we maintain GRC, governance, compliance, and risks, along with multi-stakeholders approach, then a fintech will be successful and it'll be innovative.
Thank you, sir. And same question to the Pralasar. How we can adopt and enhance fintech innovation, please?
We can?
How we can adopt and enhance fintech innovation.
Okay, before how we can adopt is that I'd like to clear this innovation. Why are we setting up, as I said, the innovation hub and sandbox? There are threefold approach we have conceptualized. One is to promote the innovation, second is to develop the marketplace, and third is to reduce the regulatory barriers. There are three objectives. So objective has to be set first, then the question comes, how do we adopt that? And how do, as per the answer, while answering the how to adopt it, is purely based on how do we set the objective. Setting the objectives will guide us to the procedure of the adopting innovation hub or center. Is that clear or should I?
Okay, thank you, sir. So I want to conclude this fireside chat by saying that Kumar sir told me about the innovation in terms of infrastructures, fintech policies of the regulators, and Pralasar has told that technology is so advanced that we should be focused on a collaboration, multi-stakeholder group. We have to take a participation of the multi-stakeholder, and he is saying that the emerging technology, AI, blockchain, and big data, cloud computing, they are also on the way to innovate the financial sector, the fintech sector. With these words, I want to conclude this fireside chat. Thank you very much once more to the organizer, and thank you very much for our guests, delegates, for being here and listening with a kind, patient. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Between me and Chad sir, thank you sir for accepting this and being part of this. Just to kind of understand that what you go through as a customer, right? Because we are a technology provider, but you consume the technology. So just to start the discussion, what are your top 3 priorities when you come to office?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. When I go to office, my first priority will be always the security. My infrastructure, my applications are secure or not. It is my data are corrupted or not. Is there any breaches or not? That is the first one, top priority. Then after the availability of my system to ensure the operation, which is very important. That is my second priority. And as a CTO, my third priority will be to find out the area of improvement, enhancing the automation, simplifying the existing system so that the operation efficiency could be enhanced, productivity could be enhanced, a proper visibility will be there. These are top priorities.
So security and what we call as cybersecurity being one of your top priorities. And if you understand cybersecurity, there are 3 aspects of cybersecurity. One is the aspect of technology, which comes from vendors like us, and today we have a lot of open source options as well. The second pillar of security is more with respect to processes which you have in the organization in terms of how do you manage the install base which you have. And third, the most important part of this is people. So my second question would be that when you look at cybersecurity platforms, do you feel that there is a skill set gap at the customer end or in the industry in totality to manage the kind of platforms which are needed for your security concerns?
Yes, exactly. to have the outcome of the complete digital transformation. There is the digitalization and digital transformation. Digital objective of digital transformation can be achieved only if the three things, that the people, process and technology combinedly creates a harmony, that combinedly could work in place. Then after only we can get the digital transformation. Only having the security devices like firewall devices and antivirus softwares is not enough. That could not protect our critical infrastructure data. And if our people are not aware about uses of the technology, that is also not effective. That's not enough. And even there is the efficient process. If we do not define our operations and process properly, that is also not going to work. Everything, this people, process and technology should work combinedly. And in regard to the application side and the overall infrastructure side, for me, I seek to have a clear visibility of my overall technology environment, whether the technology environment could be distributed form. But I want to have a clear visibility of all my technology components are properly working or not, and etc. These things.
Okay, so from taking a clue from what you said, that you wanted a centralized visibility or control. So is it something which you think, and I'm not talking only from an organization perspective, but with your experience, is it something which the industry has achieved, or is it something which is still in the pipeline and that is where we need to go? Because most of the organizations where we go to, and I can share my own personal experience, if I ask an organization how many applications you have, with two different people in the organization, probably I'll get two different answers. And I'm not saying good or bad, but that is because the centralized visibility or control is not available. So what is your view on how mature we are there, and what all things we need to do in terms of investment to create that platform?
Yeah, actually, we are not mature. We are just practicing, and we are in the just exploration phase, and we are just moving our step forward to achieve some sort of progress in having the overall visibility of this technology ecosystem. So it takes time to get things done, but as in our company, we have just started our journey, but it will take some time. But requirement is clear. We know our destination. We have taken, we have put forward our steps toward the destination. It's the long journey, maybe. We know what should be, what are the best practices, and what sort of technology ecosystem should be. But due to the various constraints, maybe some, maybe the financial constraints, some maybe the even people constraints, it is difficult. But we are just approaching to our destinations, but it is not fulfilled yet.
So for us, you are one of our important customers here and also a partner. What is your guidance to, I would say, technology providers? Because most of the time we focus on our product, right? And maybe will not be able to match to the expectations. So what are the few of the important things which we should keep in mind when we interact with you or organizations of similar nature, so that we are able to help you better?
Yeah, a security solution should be able to identify the traffic that coming in is actually the legitimate traffic or not. I think the incoming request was originated by bot or of it is woman generated, man generated. If it is coming from woman, actually if woman generated traffic, then also it should be differentiated between the man who is originating the traffic, who is originating the request is legitimate or not, is it authorized or not, and how is scalable, and can it ensure the availability, and there are the various factors that we should look before selecting the security solutions.
Okay, and last two questions on this discussion is, what is your view of training, right? Training is an important aspect, and we also want to train as many people as possible, both at the customer end as well as the partner end, so that you have a better return on investment. So what can we do, and how we can create more resources in Nepal as a territory so that your vision could be fulfilled faster? I'm specifically focusing on the education and the training part.
Yeah, education training is actually required. Without education, training, and the proper knowledge of product, your services, or maybe even the awareness of the cyber security, available options, and what are the different practices that is adopted internationally, and what are the loopholes, what are the vulnerabilities area. Without knowing these things, even customer cannot decide which product or service to take or not. So training or the awareness is very important.
Sure. And one last question, since you use F5, what are some of the few things which made you decide use our technology, and which are the few things which we should improvise, so that we also take this as a learning? If you can just share that.
Yeah, we recently deployed F5 in our organization. It's been just around 6 months, so we haven't just got opportunity to explore more things. Before deployment, we had done some research, and we just check out some similar solutions like F5 hardware and many things. We compare the different capabilities of also
on the security in the journey. So first we started that, and then finally we had some industry trends also, where we see what the champions are doing in terms of the digitalization or digital services adoption and all other modernization of the infrastructure. And finally, we introduced a new portfolio of F5, which is F5 Cloud, maybe new for some of you. So first, if we move around, that the middle part is F5 Big AP that many of you are already using, and will not go to the every detail of the modules and features, but that's all about the F5 Big AP, the traditional one in hardware or software form factors. Both are there. But the two other side, that the first one is the Nginx, which is closer to the application, not closer to the client side, is it's a Linux package, many of you know. So it's part of F5 for last 4 years or so. But Nginx predates all these ideas like microservices or Kubernetes. So it's there since 2001 or 2, but it is the way to go when you go for modernization and adopt new ideas like re-architecting your software to microservices. Even with traditional infrastructure, it adds a lot of value. And finally, the other part is F5 Distributed Cloud. That's the official name, F5 Distributed Cloud, and you can also call XC. So these three parts, but the first thing is that these are only the form factors. These are not the features or solutions that you are familiar with, like load balancing, web application firewalling, or any security enforcement or availability kind of features, because these are available in all these form factors. So these are just platforms, can be consumed in many different ways. So Big AP one is the hardware or the virtual appliance one, Nginx is the Linux package one, and the distributed cloud is everything cloud. So the experience is very cloud-like. You click next, 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 and it magically works. That's cloud. And the Linux one is very DevOps friendly. Maybe developers are more familiar with that. And if we compare in terms of the speed of deployment, the BigAP, many of you are already using, you know, it will probably take, if it's hardware, it will, with the given realities of supply chain and all other issues, it can take like months or years based on what kind of solutions you want to have. And the Nginx one, it's a matter of hours, right? You spin up VM and you have your preferred Linux and you install the package and it works. And that other one, the cloud one, is like a minute's job. You just have your license and have your SaaS console, you click next, 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 what are the features you want, and that's minute's job. So hours, days, months, hours, and minutes, all forms of ways you can consume, but it's all the same. F5, load balancing, F5, web application firewalling, or API gateway, API security, SSL offloading, all these things we're talking about, these are can be consumed in all these form factors. So moving forward, what we wanted to start with is that what we see in the industry. From F5, we work with a lot of customers, federal, government, banking, enterprise, all sorts of verticals. And what we see from the champions of digitalization is that what are they doing? If we start from the modernization, so all of them, almost all of them, I would say that they're changing their infrastructure from the traditional hardware-based bolt kind of solutions to more software-centric solution. And the next trend we see is more on how they want to scale it. They want to scale based on the need of the business, so that they can scale vertically, they can scale horizontally, all sorts of scalings are available. The third trend we see is the adoption of APIs. So probably we all would agree that the data, if it's the new oil, then APIs are the new pipeline of that oil, right? So every organization is adopting APIs in some sort, and all have some strategy around APIs, how to maintain the life cycle of APIs, how to ensure the security of the APIs. So that's another trend we see. The other thing like sandbox ecosystem is that a lot of organizations will have a separate environment, because the modern environment, you can change your code a few times every day. And for that you need a very good testing environment that exactly replicates all your business environment, all your business logic in there. So that's another trend. Other very common trend is to collaborate with fintechs, banks and non-banking financial, all sorts of organizations. The collaboration is there. So even if it's a furniture shop, they will have some sort of connectivity to payment gateways, and to offload this non-business logic part to other parties who are good at this. So that trend is there, and obviously the partnership creation means that you do not need to build everything from scratch. So we do not need to reinvent the wheel if somebody has already invented the wheel, and we need to take it from there. So there will be a mixed infrastructure where you have your own environment, you also have your partners who are delivering the application in SaaS model, or maybe you will have a partnership of all your application infrastructure that is very hybrid in nature. So those are the trends we see among the champions of who spearhead this journey of digitalization or digital services. The next one, we shift the gear a bit, what do we mean by this modernization? One of the biggest trend in there is to go microservices. Possibly we don't need to elaborate why is that, but we all know that's the best way to go for most applications in modern environment, because it's a huge, a long list of benefits. The revolution that happened 20 years back from hardware to virtualization, then virtualization from VM to containerization, and then right now it's the microservices, because that has the benefits of compartmentalizing every problem, every solution, and develop every part individually based on the needs, not like a whole big application that will never go, changed like 10 years, 15 years, that's not the way. So it's just an example of Uber or Pathao, if you have like that kind of thing, but sorry, the old way would be to have a big application, but the new way would be have to have multiple services running, and each one is independent. But that we all know. But what is the problem here is that once we introduce this, we also have to have, expose these services to the internet, right? But if you expose every services there, and that's, again, any change you make, it has to impact the whole world, right? But that's not the way to do. So even naturally what the developers would do, they would bring an API gateway so that becomes the front end, and internally it becomes the glue for every other services that come in. But the biggest change here, there's one other big change in computing here, because the previous architecture, if we go back to the previous slide, you'll see that this whole application is sharing the memory space in the same system, right? But the new style, this is using your network infrastructure, this is using your interfaces, all the physical interfaces there. So that makes everything very different. So the old way, they are using the same memory space, you don't care about the network, but new way, everything, because this service can be running in any part of your network, anywhere in the world, and it will be using your application delivery infrastructure, which are our traditional network switches, routers, BGP, MPLS, all those stuff, right? So this makes life a little more difficult, even though it's very beneficial. So moving forward, that when you bring in the API gateway, you also need to have, we'll not go each one of this list, but the problem is that once you introduce this, you will have a set of controls on the infrastructure that is required for this new architecture. So if we move forward then from Nginx, how we solve that Nginx and F5 is that we have this infrastructure already there. Nginx predates these ideas, right? Nginx is there from 2001 or 2, and these are new ideas like microservices and Kubernetes. Microservice possibly 10 years old with the hand of Netflix. So we make this journey easier, so you can gradually shift. You don't have to shut down your older system and do this new thing. You can gradually move whenever you want, how much you want, like 1% traffic go there. And the Nginx is smart enough to identify to the lowest granular level. So one is on the APIs, the other one is the Kubernetes. So that basically means that the new technologies like API adoption and Kubernetes are also bringing in new list of security problems. So I'll not go again by one, but just to see that these are different. And there are similarities also. So if we just summarize the first one, the web application problems are mostly about payload, like SQL injection problem, what are they coming in the payload part. The next one, the API one, is more about the authentication and authorization problem, which are mostly part of the header of the request, right? In the like API key or JOT token, that tokens are in the header. And the third problem in Kubernetes environment or microservice environment or some sort of Kubernetes like OpenShift or Tanzu, you still have the problem of access control, because in Kubernetes it's just a skeleton, right? Like the Linux days, you still need to harden it. It's not production grade. We have to make it production grade. So that's where we suggest, and it's also the industry's most popular one, even if the developer who is re-architecting the whole software for this environment, naturally, the natural choice is Nginx, because it offers a huge list of enablers for this transformation. And Nginx is used as externally of the cluster, it can be used internally as the ingress controller of the cluster, and it's also can be used as a service mesh. So basically, the Linux package, you can inject this package anywhere that service is running. If that's running in a container, if that's running in a VM, doesn't matter. If it's in cloud, so basically it's behaves the same way. And if you have a cluster, a lot of things are in autopilot mode in Kubernetes, right? A lot of moving parts. So Kubernetes, Nginx becomes part of the control plane, and it injects its code in everywhere, so that you have the single pane of control. And typically when you expose a service from Kubernetes, the services are running on pods, and Nginx manages all the layer 3 to layer 7 services, like exposing to the world and also managing all the features like API gateway-like features and even web application firewall inside the cluster. That's all are possible. And finally, what we do that we make this a layered approach, what's inside the cluster, what's outside the cluster, and how you want to enforce the controls. So that's all possible from Nginx. So we'll just quickly move the external and the internal part. And finally, the ingress controller one will, again, this is the most popular ingress controller. Even it comes with multiple flavors like open source and enterprise version. And we make this controller layer as a platform. This is not a solution like load balancer or WAF. We take this as a platform like we took with BigIP reverse proxy as a platform, where we used to have these features like load balancing, WAF, and access control. Similarly, inside ingress controller, we see this as a platform, not a point or something. So this platform can be used for all these use cases. So that concludes the app modernization part, but the next and final part, we talk about the F5 Cloud, which is actually officially named Distributed Cloud, or XC, whichever is easier for you to remember, but it's Distributed Cloud, F5 Distributed Cloud, or F5 XC. The problem, if we see at the evolution of this data center, is that it used to be very physical and very your own data center, then you procure the hardware through a process of, long process of procurement and shipment and everything. Then you bring in the cloud and you move to a hybrid environment where you have some workloads running in your data center, some are running in some other cloud. That can be a local cloud provider in Nepal, or that can be AWS, GCP, Azure, wherever. But the problem here is that you need to manage all these environments. You need to create this skill set in your organization. Somebody has to be good at the on-premise stuff. Somebody has to be good at AWS stuff, and somebody has to be Google expert, and so many things. But the problem is not only operational, it's not seamless. In everywhere, experience is different, the technology is different, the ideas are different, and how they connect together are always different. So what we offer from F5 is that to use, the F5 becomes the overlay of all these clouds, even if your data center 1, 2, 3. So it basically overlays and abstracts the cloud infrastructure. And F5 has built this global infrastructure like AWS, GCP, all other have. So it lands on the F5, and then under the hood, you can imagine that every other cloud technology supports automation, right? Ansible or Terraform, whatever you say. So under the hood, we use those technologies. So there's no magic here, but we offload all this job to the F5 cloud, and then you basically use the clouds as a workload provider. You don't need to buy F5 WAF on-premise, then go to AWS and buy AWS WAF, then go to GCP and buy GCP WAF. You buy this from single vendor, and that you trust most, right? F5 WAF has been industry leading, the load balancer has been industry leading, DNS and everything. So all these are in this single platform. And we all automate this, and it's exactly, So the experience is exactly cloud-like. You go to the console, you have your credentials, you click next, WAF is running within minutes. Load balancing, even CDN, DNS, all things are in a cloud-like experience. And then we also have things like advanced protection that would require a lot of skill set on your data center, right? Because on your data center, everything would depend on how you manage it, how it operate it, how you respond to the incidents. So we make the whole things in single place with additional features, everything configured and everything there by the experts of the industry. So we make this job much easier. So you basically have this cloud-based DDoS protection and cloud-based WAF, bot protection and API security, everything that you would otherwise have on-premise, and then to do the heavy lifting of configuration and operation here. You still manage that, but the technology stack is already there with the best possible way. So with that, I will finish my part. So just to summarize, we have this networking and app security, all the features that you see on the on-premise part, plus many more in the cloud part. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Animal.
Thank you to Event List, Eminence Ways, and especially to F5 team for coming down to Nepal to host this event and to share about the issues that we are facing when we are going at the speed of technology to serve the customer and also ensure that their transactions are secure, their data and infrastructures are properly taken care of. So the topic that we are now probably for 45 minutes or 50 minutes that we are going to discuss now on is basically about security versus speed. The secret of modern application architecture and operation. That's basically what we want to talk. So with me I have Mr. Dhananjay Gaju, who is the MD of F5 for India and South Asia. He arrived this morning only, and fortunately this is his first time, and this is the beginning, I guess, to Nepal. So welcome to Nepal, Dhananjay, and I look forward to discuss what core technologies Nepalese institutions can borrow, learn, and excel in case of ensuring security at the speed where the business is growing. So that's for me here. We have Dhananjay. I have Mr. Diliman Sakya, who is the CTO for NCHL, as one of the major financial enabler, fintech enabler in Nepal, which has emerged in last, I guess, 12 years now, sir. So on 23rd of December, they are celebrating their 12th year of, officially 12 years, but technically
established it is on 14 years.
Yes, right. So and I will try to look into how they have been ensuring that their platform is secure and the changes that they are doing on regular basis is basically being taken care of. So that's the experience that I'm looking forward. And I have Mr. Sarat Chandra Pakurel, who is the CTO of Nepal Life, and we have already heard his experiences on this spotlight session. And thank you, Nikhil, for raising such a beautiful question. And I guess you have already completed half of my job. Thank you for that. At NIC Asia, one of the very fine bank with quite a portfolio of applications and services on the digital front, leading the banking system from the front. So that's basically my panel, and I'm indeed so glad to have this panel and obviously with the session. So basically, to set the context and how we want to go ahead with today's panel is security really taking the back seat? साँच्चैमा सिक्युरिटीले चाहिँ बिजनेस अपरेसन फाइनान्सले अगाडि सिट लिइरहेको छ र सिक्युरिटी चाहिँ पछाडि बेन्चमा बसिरहेको छ कि भन्ने प्रश्नमा चाहिँ हामी आज अलिकति अन्तर्संवाद गर्ने प्रयास गर्छौं. So if it is so, should not this position change? That's the question that I want to ask myself. And if so, if it has to change, what is the way and how can we do it? I think that's the question that I want to deliver on. And also to add on, as Tariq just shared, with the development of different, from the hardware to virtualization to containerization to the microservices, and with the distributed and all the application and data services running on standalone as an independent, how can we ensure that it is not only secured, but it is effective as well? So further, emergence of microservices, how do we ensure that security changes in the linear application is also like efficient as well as protected? So basically, the thing that I want to understand is what are the challenges that the IT and security teams are facing. And if I see the 110 names here, some of our CTOs, and I think, so we have CTOs here, we have IT officer, we have security CISOs here, and then we have obviously from the government as well. So how does IT and security team faces with respect to ever-growing demand and the conflict between the speed and quality of experience from the IT system and its application? So that's there. So basically, I was talking to Ganju, Mr. Dees, we call him Dees. The earlier generation, 19th generation, was from the physical assets, tangible assets. 20th generation come to more intellectual assets, patents and other things, how much knowledge you have. Now it's more of, I'm finding it difficult to explain, but as our conversation goes, how do we excellence with the assets of any organization is how good we can deliver the service and integrate those applications in the business process. I guess Mr. Dhananjay will be more able to conclude on that. So I have 3 objectives that I want to draw on this one. One is current status and the scenario of conflict between the security domain and the business domain, that is the speed, while delivering these services. And the second is what are the trends? We have Mr. Aminul basically discussed some of the trends, but I want to focus on the challenges in the domain, ensuring the security while also adapting the speed, and ways and path heads for Nepali enterprise and business to ensure that both effectiveness, efficiency and speed are ensured and not compromising on the security. So let me come to my panel, and so I have my first question for Dilly sir, and probably 2 minutes, 3 minutes I would request for. The question is, what have been your or NCHL practices in the current context? Like you said, you have been in existence for 14 years, and all the IT system that's there, the clearing system and everything is for recent almost 7-8 years. You are there in the market, Connect IPS. So you have been one of the key enabler of the financial ecosystem. So what has been your practice in the current context for ensuring the security while delivering the services and enhancing the speed and pace in your organization and in your system?
Okay. Thank you for the organizing committee and evangelist and the moderator for these queries. Before answering this question, I'll just take a moment to elaborate the services that we are delivering on the market for financial institutions and all banking institutions. NCHL, what NCHL is delivering, this is well known. But on the market side, NCHL is mostly known as from the Connect IPS. When the Connect IPS is there, it is actually branded and it is actually known NCHL by the Connect IPS now. So having taking this example now about millions of Connect IPS users in place. So we have the specific challenges to maintain the trust of the particular brand and the product value. So for this, we basically have that 3 key things that we mostly concern. One is the reliability of the services, and another is the availability of the service that we deliver. Third one is the safer and the secure transaction. So with these 3 fundamental agenda that we consider at our end, and based on that, what we do is we map these 3 things with the key business objective of the organization. When we map these things into the organizational objective, and then it comes, we are most clear on what IT needs to be enabled for the service to ensure this objective into the reality. So we are just ensuring that all objectives are enabled and services are delivered properly.
Exactly. So ability and safe and secure, that's there. But how do you actually ensure in practice? That's like the current context.
Okay. In that case, what happens is when you have these 3 things in place. I'm telling that we want to ensure the reliability of the product and services. Now, for the reliability of the product and services, the important thing that we do is we need to have that the services in place, the continuous monitoring in place, operational security that has to be taken care, and all those things are handled properly. In case of availability case, there are multiple redundancy are in place. The contingency planning are also prepared. So all these things are.
So technically, how do you take care of? Because I guess as a CTO, that is basically how is your CISO responding? And I'll come to Naren sir for that on this next one. But I want to counter you on that is, as a CTO you look everything, but as a CISO, how does your CISO confront you?
In that case, what happens is they also, as a CISO also, right? As a CISO also, it has more on the compliance side. When we talk about the, I have one point I have mentioned, that is safer and a secure transaction, right? For the secure system and transaction, we have basically two things. One, the system should by default, by design, it has the application should be secure enough. And another is, on top of that, the end-to-end security, communication channel that has to be secure. Well, in these two, considering these two facts, now on the application side, the most important thing is on the authentication and authorization part. That is by default design, it has to be there. And once having that, then for that, whatever you need, you do VAPT, third party estimate, everything.
So,
what do you
so,
do?
so,
That
so,
is-
so let me come to Naren sir, and so as you said, by design, you want to secure the security, and also you want to ensure the end-to-end, security for your communication. Let me come to my sir, and so as you are a CISO and you are looking for the innovation as well, is this a conflicting role? And if so, NIC Asia has been one of the leading bank which is kind of experimenting and exploring new digital services time and again. And how do your role as an innovation and security conflict, and how do you, maybe I would say, handle that situation where the service is not compromised, the speed is not compromised, and security is ensured from your role? Like I would like to have more technical answer, because I guess the entire whole audience that we have is coming from the technical audience. I understand the policy aspect, but so yeah, please.
So I think this is one of the tough questions, and the question itself, explains why there has to be a compartmentalization.
Yeah.
That's why, to answer this, we have a different three fundamental approach. First is change of perception. No more CTOs, no more CISOs, no more tech people, nothing more. You only have the enterprise objective, that is to protect your organization. This is the first philosophy that we have built as a, matching the speed and security and innovation. That's why my role, so everybody asks me the same question. So how these two things can be, the same person can handle this. If you don't understand innovation, if you don't understand technology, what do you secure? Is the first question. And the second philosophy that we have is, we try to collaborate. It's not the competing, like, the security department, this IT department, the system department, this department. We don't only bring the issues to the concerned stakeholders. We try to collaborate and get resolved into that issue. So that is our focus. So no more competition, just collaborate to resolve the issue. And the third approach that we follow is openness. Because you see the technological advancement, the thing that was considered to be perfect 1 year back, let's take an example of multi-factor authentication. It used to be assumed to be one of the safest, technical modes that can prevent you 99%. But if you see the today's, cybercrime and the pattern of this sophisticated trend, these MFAs are easily bypassed. You can see a lot of videos in YouTube. So you have to be open. Open in a sense that the thing that was assumed to be perfect may not be fit in today's context, may not be fit in tomorrow's context. And openness means you bring all your stakeholders into the table. So is there any better solution that we have already known? Maybe there can exist something better than that we have presumed. So if there is the attitude of openness, ultimately you can resolve the problem. So now see, now the scenario has changed. Now you are in a position to resolve the issue. So until and unless you resolve the issue, you may say a lot of things in the policies, you are not protected. The sole objective has to be resolving the issue that you have in your infrastructure. So to resolve this issue, so whatever name you give, CISOs, CTOs, CIOs, whatever name. So ultimate result has to be on resolving the issues or the vulnerabilities that exist into your infrastructure. And that can only be done through collaborative approach. That's why, we have tried to devise a different perspective in terms of managing the security that was presumed to be very straightforward. Rocket science is a separate game. It's not like that. Now, it doesn't exist as per the global trend of cybercrime. So it's all the ways that we have been following in NIC Asia to build robust application, to deliver speed, and to achieve the ultimate goal of customer experience. That is whole a financial institution is always looking for.
Okay,
Thank you.
so thank you, sir. So I guess a lot of big words, enterprise, objective, um, collaboration, openness, and resolving the issues of vulnerabilities. These are big words. I'll come to Mr. Dhananjay to actually see how these are being resolved and how these are being addressed. But before that, let me come to Sharad sir. Sharad sir, I think you have shared your experiences. Let me ask one question, I guess, which Nikhil, intentionally left for me to you to begin with is, what is the contextual difference that you observed? यो पछिल्लो 6 महिनामा जब तपाईँ यो भनौँ न यो जुन स्पिड एट द सिक्युरिटी एट द स्पिडमा तपाईँहरूले फोर्स गरिराख्नु भएको छ र त्योभन्दा अगाडिको इन्स्योरेन्स सेक्टरमा what has been the contextual difference that you have find yourself in? So matter of the fact मा चाहिँ के फरक पाउनु भएको छ स्केल अफ बिजनेसमा अथवा एफिसिएन्सीमा अथवा त्यसको चाहिँ रिलायबिलिटीमा what is the difference that you have been observing?
Thank you, sir. There is, of course, there is difference, and we used to have a very basic solutions, and we used to use different type of just firewall devices and antivirus softwares only, and we used to get reports of various breaches and many incidents before. But after installing these security solutions like F5, and we also installed some other solutions related to security, some maybe the security incident management related solutions, and we just tested some sort of solutions like SIEM solutions and everything. Then after we got a clear visibility about where is our weakness part, in which area we should look for, and how to just tackle with this problem. Then after just implementing the web application firewall, and we can see the attack patterns, the traffics that we are receiving, and the severity of the traffic, and how the firewall is blocking those traffic.
Okay.
And actually these types of devices are intelligent. They just generate their definition automatically. They have, I think, it has inbuilt artificial intelligence. It learns itself. It defines its defense mechanism automatically, then protects our critical data. Actually, it is said that the data is today's oil, so data is our asset.
Okay, so let me come to Dhananjay on that. So Dhananjay, I guess a lot of policy, security, and experience is there, right? So obviously, speed and security has efficiency, effectiveness has its own connotation, own attributes, and at times they are conflicting with each other, right? And when it comes to delivering the service in institutions which are real time, which are 24/7, 365, and which comes out with the traditional system as well as all emerging innovations are integrated there, how does the solution that you are providing, and what's the portfolio that you have been working on in Nepal as well as in the region? What's the conflicting and how do you resolve it? Technically, obviously policy, technical, and obviously experience wise. Maybe a kind of a generic answer, please.
Sure.
If you can be specific, that would be so nice.
Yeah, sure. I'll first of all, thanks for having F5 on the panel discussion with the dignitaries here. We are honored to be here today. Thank you very much, Hempal sir. I know you're timing me, so I'll try to remain within the 3-minute limit. But I also know your phone password. You need to change that. You've tinkered with it many times.
I'll change it right now for you to see.
Talking about security and speed, let's be honest. If you have a car going on a highway and you introduce a speed bump, that car will slow down. And that's what typically happens to data on a network. if you allow the data to free flow, it will continue to free flow with no obstructions. But if you introduce various security factors at layer 3 and at application layers, your performance will degrade. It's a known fact. I mean, you can't get away from that. But however, there are techniques, and I'll elaborate. Well, I'll mention 3, and then if you want me to elaborate, we can sit, have a cup of coffee. One is you can do TCP optimization. Second, you can do SSL offload. And third, you can do compression. When you deploy these 3 in an intelligent way, all the impact that your traffic had because you introduce various speed breakers like layer 3 and layer 7 security, you would see your traffic performance improve. You would see improvement in how your customers are now able to have a better experience when they're touching your application. So that is one part of my answer. Second part is the world of layer 7 security is changing. To your point very aptly, that you have to evolve. About 10 years ago, we were an appliance-based company. Speed, move forward 10 years hence, we have whatever we supplied as an appliance available to you in a SaaSified fashion over a platform, right? So the most important part, it's not easy to deploy a layer 7 WAF, let me tell you that. You really need a ponytail rocket scientist that has enough knowledge, not on layer 3, but on layer 7, application knowledge, to actually protect your application. So let me give you a very simple example which all of you are familiar with during the pandemic in the last 2 years. How many years has WebEx been around? Several years. Have you used desktop conferencing? Is that a new technology? No, desktop conferencing has been a very old technology, right? WebEx has been around, and there are several other desktop conferencing technologies that are available to us. But only one technology grew 340%. Who was that technology? Any guesses? Zoom. See, everybody knows. Zoom overtook everybody else. So we asked this question, and in a chat with our CEO, he said, when you take something dauntingly complex, WAF is dauntingly complex, and I know there are many WAF consumers here, thank you very much for that, and you make it ridiculously simple, consumption goes up. And that's what we have done with our SaaSified platform. When you consume F5 of our cloud now, on your laptops, when you deploy an application, you get an option, right? Recommended or customized, right? Every time you deploy an application, how many of you actually press customized? Almost none. Everybody says recommended and moves on. Click, 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 done. And that's what we have done to our WAF. When you onboard an application on our cloud, you have 2 options, recommended or customized. Now customized, if you are really a ponytail scientist and you want to play with all the customized options, you have them. But 15 years of experience, all the recommended configurations, 400 of them, are in the recommended option. Click, onboard, you're literally done and you're on learning mode. So the way you're consuming technology is also changing as we move forward. Yeah, I hope that answers.
Yeah, so probably I'll have a second round question, and I'll also have the questions from the audience today, and I will try to have as much as questions as the organizers would allow me to. But before that, let me come to the second round, right? So I guess this is the solution, but again, having said, so Dilli sir, Liman sir, may I come to, what are the particular challenges as my second objective is, that's the kind of, and what has been the trends that we have seen. So अहिलेको तपाईले अब आउने समयको चाहिँ challenge भनेको चाहिँ के हो? Because I guess you have ensured the security requirement that was on yesterday or probably till today. But अब आउने security को challenges कस्तो छ, and how does a solution provider can address those? So I'll come to almost with the same orientation of question to all the 3. But let me start with Dilli sir, please.
Basically, what we...
I want to please try to go as technical as possible, because as you said, by design, I guess we have already missed that bus. The things that is included there, if not included, I think we have to, somehow manage it. So please, yeah.
Yeah. Before starting, what I want to clear is we basically follow 2 basic principles. One is as per the ISO standard 21000 standard,
Yeah.
and another is principle of financial market infrastructure.
Right.
These are the core things that we basically follow as a principal guidelines to our infrastructure.
Right.
And on top of this, whatever the controls that you are asking, that the major challenges that we see the most of the time is the sudden spike that comes to the systems. That needs to be analyzed whether these are genuine traffic or these are not genuine.
Right.
So this is the major challenges that we observe, and accordingly we need to manage that scalability of the systems. So all of whenever now, since we have multiple customer onboarded, and the transaction has been rapidly growth in the 24/7 system. The spike that comes today, if you have 100,000 transactions, then all of a sudden the next day that becomes 200,000. So there is no guarantee that the transaction, how frequently it rapidly comes up. So we need that scalability challenge, and we also need to ensure that whatever comes in, that has actually genuine or not. These are the things that we are actually.
So let me come to Naren sir. So when we compare with the speed, right? So I think Dilip answered that one is the genuine or fake users that are coming to your system is one, and how do you scale up is two challenges from his perspective. From your perspective, what exactly are the other challenges that actually comes as a security? And when you compare, you want to deliver on the speed because the volume of the transaction is increasing, the demand of the ease of service is increasing, the demand of speed is increasing, and there is a increased demand from inside for new product, services and innovation. So what's the challenges that is coming up to you?
So from the challenge perspective, so I have three, observation.
Right.
The first is, the time to resolve the issue, either from application side, either from the service provider. For example, recently 2-3 months back there was issue with the F5 as well.
Yes.
So in what least time they are able to patch the solution? Currently we are also having some issues with the Fortinet. Still the account privilege takeover. So what is the strength to resolve that issue?
Right.
So that is the most essential thing for every tech people should consider while having the solution.
Right.
So next challenge from the same perspective is that so you have a very monolithic application that was built almost 10 years ago.
Yeah,
now it's very difficult to modernize its application.
True.
So if you are not in a position to modernize your application, you are not in a position to derive the benefits, derive the value proposition from the technology stack.
Right.
For example, let's say if your application do not support TLS higher version, what can you do?
Yeah. Right. So probably I think the challenges that you are saying is how can your vendor ensure that they are ensuring your security? But on the bank's front, what's
from the application means from the bank's perspective, I need
Right.
to modernize my application.
Right.
I need to have the 360 visibility of my entire infrastructure.
And how do you integrate into that, like inbuilt in your own institution and technical team? How do you try to do that? What are the? Well, that was my third question, but again, maybe if it has gone through, so please.
Yes, so we have tried to bring the 360 visibility of my entire infrastructure, maybe from network side, from application side, database side, and other peripheral application. So we have built a defense in depth approach. It's not only the proprietary solution. We have a lot of open sources, and we try to consolidate and correlate all those visibility into a single dashboard, so that I get to know what's going wrong within my application, what's going wrong within my network. So this the whole thing, is not only from the tech perspective or the box perspective, it's also from the developer's perspective. So what are the issues they need to cater while developing an application? So it's all about the holistic approach from the service provider, from the application side, and from the network, as well as other tech stack.
I think Prahlad sir was saying the holistic approach that the central bank is also taking up. I guess that's very well. So, but let me come to Sharad sir to continue with the answer that you said. One of the thing of 360 visibility on all the stack that you are doing, how do you collaborate on that front with all this? So that's I think the Azule your insurance sector एउटा एप्लिकेसन अर्को के अरे एप्लिकेसनसँगको कोलाबोरेसन र यो बिचकोलाई कसरी इन्स्योर गर्दा गर्दै सिक्ने च्यालेन्ज हामीले चाहिँ हेर्न सकिन्छ, स्पेशली when coming to insurance sector?
Of course, there are lots of challenges. The application issue is one that first of all, how efficient the application and how protecting the application is one issue that in Nepalese insurance context, there is we cannot find that the level of certified applications in terms of insurance. There is the banking applications, they are proved and tested, but insurance applications are not that certified and tested. And, in case of the zero-day attack or something like that, how quickly we get information of those attacks is important.
Right.
And then after being attacked, being compromised, then how quickly we could resolve this is challenging.
Okay, so I guess NLIC being a homegrown insurance company and having developed their own solutions in-house as well or within the country.
Yes,
we are. I think that's one another challenge that brings up to the domain. But Mr. Dhananjay, you have been coming through across financial institution, telcos, government, and enterprise. Supporting all the four primary one. So, how have the solutions that F5 or other service vendors has been providing, which actually try to address the challenges that I guess the partners has kind of raised in the second question. And after Dhananjay, I'll try to go to the audience, and if we have questions, to one very short and sweet questions, and then we can move on with the final closing up. Please, Dhananjay.
Sure. Since the flavor is security or cyber security, I'll stick with the same story.
Right.
And I'll give you a use case that one of our customers came up with. This customer, their website, and you can check it out. It's called Wedge Non-Wedge. It's a very interesting website. What do they sell? They sell very expensive shoes, like really expensive shoes, and they sell streetwear, and they're hot. And like as soon as they announce a sale, everything there vanishes. So they came to us and said, the revenue of the company is the same. Their dollar revenue did not increase, right? They're taking back home exactly the same amount of money quarter over quarter, but they're paying more money to AWS, and they could not figure it out. So they called us and said, okay, we will put in a probe and find out what's happening in your network. And not very surprisingly, we suspected it was bots. So bots were coming in, that's unwanted traffic. 90% of the time it's unwanted, and they're increasing the traffic. Now that's a customer experience issue. It's got nothing to do with security. Of course, bots we need to prevent, good bots and bad bots. So we reduced their billing to AWS by introducing bot protection. So all the bad bots were dropped, and their billing to AWS drastically dropped. But however, there are three things to look after. One, in your network, one is whatever traffic is coming in, the first probe that we want to do is that machine or is that human? Very important in today's world where HTTPS or HTTP traffic, 90% is machine, let me assure you of that. So is the traffic human or is the traffic a machine? If it's a machine, drop it. If it's human, let it progress. So the second level, are you a good human or a bad human? And there are a number of biometrics and behavior analytics that are deployed to determine whether the human that is coming to your network, is that person a good or a bad actor?
केही क्वेशन्सहरु केही साथीहरुको छ भने हामीले हल्का त्यो क्वेशन्सहरु लिन सकिन्छ र त्यसपछि हामी चाहिँ अगाडि बढ्न सक्छौं. I guess we have a technical team also. If there is more technical questions coming up, I guess so that's that, because अघिको सेसनमा पनि टेक्निकल क्वेशन्सहरु हामीले अलिकति एड्रेस गर्न सकेर आन्सर्स एड्रेस गर्न सकेको थिएनौं. So please, yeah. Anyone? Any hands? Okay, I think, okay, that was...
There's a question.
There is a question? So please, Mike, yeah. First, please. Oh, okay. He wanted me to read the question. Okay, thank you. That's there. So if somebody wants to give the question as well, that is also really nice one. So thank you. You wish for a question, somebody? It's okay, I guess. Okay. So the question is, and whom you want to ask? Okay. The question is, what are the worst example related to the concern of security and speed, and how have we resolved it? I think Naren sir, I think you are the right person. I think you have. Okay, yeah, please, yeah.
Question please once more.
So, what are the worst example related to the concern of speed and security, and how have you resolved it?
So just to give you an example, so we had to launch one application for customer service, and we were given the deadline of two more days. So what happened is we were assumed to take that 2 more days after the development team or after the delivery team would complete their tasks. But during their UAT testing, there were some bugs, and that went till 6 more hours before the deadline was given to us to make the project live. And it was very challenging for us, so we had estimated it would at least take 22 hours to sort out or to test that application through our testing process. Now we asked with the business stakeholder, can we push it back the live date? And they are very rigid, no, that cannot be done. So now we have no choice. Either without testing, we need to go to the production system, or we have to do it within 6 hours. So which is assumed to take almost 22 hours. And we sit with the team, because as I already mentioned, we had the culture of having open discussion. And we sit with the team and we had a discussion, what can we do to get this live within the stipulated time. And while discussing, we came to a conclusion that let's try to test the most essential part, for going live, that are mostly exposed to the customers. And we will take it on the second phase for all those things that are accessed from our internal network. And for doing that, we had taken a precaution that let's make a internal system accessible only to one specific IP. So that will only travel through multiple other security layers. So with this, we had done the rigorous testing with the customer facing, with the essential component. And then once that is fixed and we went live with the system and other components, we had taken our time to make the system live. So in this way, we try to build a trade-off into an possible ways so that we can make the system live as per our speed and as per the scale that we require to provide any service to our customers. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this is the normal way out that we have taken out. I would come to Dhananjay after I take some inputs from Delhi sir, if you have, what could be the more examples on that. But Delhi sir,
then we come up with a layer 7 load balancing in place, and after that, having that, what we did is if there is some issues on the system itself, then the traffic will automatically be routed to the next available node. So the customer will not face that issues again.
Right.
And the systems are on in the clusters, and their session will automatically be routed back again.
Thank you.
So this is how we process.
So I think that's also one of the way. But let me.
So sir, I want to add on that.
Please.
So when I gave an example, that was a very good learning for us, and that example now has given us a different trajectory to start the security process. Now we are moving on to the DevOps and CI/CD type of system testing approach. Because if we just do the reactive approach, or just only the delivery team will complete their role and then we come into picture, then such kind of situation might come again. So now we have changed the system testing trajectory, that now we are trying to establish a CI/CD type of security testing, so that it goes hand in hand with the application development as well as security testing, so that such kind of situation might not occur in the future.
Right. So I think that also very well sync with the 3+1 stack, that is NetOps, DevOps, SecOps, and probably app ops kind of tier structure that is being there. So I think one of the business continuity that we also did when the light went off was, I guess, we keep on continuing trying to, our efficiency decreased, but I guess that was. So coming to Dhananjay on
last
that.
question please.
Yeah, so हजुरकै क्वेसनलाई मैले यहाँ एड्रेस गर्न चाहे, म त्यसपछि हजुरलाई फेरि आउँछु है। म धनञ्जयसँग हजुरको क्वेसनको आन्सर लिन्छु, त्यसपछि फेरि आउँछु।
वाला नै रिलेटेड हो।
हजुर, प्लिज एड अन।
Okay, myself Pradeep from Kathmandu, doing business. Scenario मेरो कस्तो भन्दा नि वर्ल्डको मार्केट 8 ट्रिलियनमा पर डे चलिरहेको अवस्था हो। साइबर सिक्युरिटीको कन्सर्नमा हामी आज छौँ। अरू कन्ट्रीमा म गइनँ, स्पेसली फर नेपालको सन्दर्भमा। दुई तिनवटा मनी चाहिँ हाम्रो नेपालको पैसा लुटेर लगेको चाइनाले। 14-15 जना न्युजमा हामीले पढेकै हो। अब यहाँ जो स्पिकर आउनु भएको छ पुलिसको तर्फबाट त कोही पनि आउनु भएको छैन होला पक्कै पनि। त्यो प्रब्लम कसरी सल्भ भयो? जस्तै कृषि विकास ब्याङ्कको पैसा लुट्नु भयो, अनि कति दिन बस्नुभयो, यो कुरा हामीले न्युजमा पढेर आएको रियल फ्याक्ट हामीले हेरेकै हो। पछि अब पेमेन्ट गेटवे वालेट म पनि पेमेन्ट गेटवे छु। मेरो क्वेसन कस्तो हो भन्दाखेरि प्रब्लम त वर्ल्डको सिनेरियोमा त हजुरहरूले हेर्ने भएको छ विभिन्न कुराहरू त, त्यसलाई चाहिँ यस्तो खालको प्रब्लम भएको थियो, यसलाई चाहिँ यसरी सल्भ भयो, अनि नेपालमा पनि यस्तो आउन सक्छ, यसमा चाहिँ यो खालको चाहिँ प्रिकसन हुनुपर्छ है, खालको चाहिँ मेसेज हामीलाई गएको थियो।
I think that's the final question. Thank you for piggybacking that. That is my final question to all the panelists, and I'll come back to your previous question and also add to Dhananjay was, so what was your worst nightmare in this, I would say, 26 years of journey with the F5?
So my worst nightmare when I saw some of our very mature customers deploy a WAF and just leave it in learning mode. So the whole purpose of putting a web application firewall is defeated when you deploy it in learning mode and never put it in blocking mode. The whole intent of WAF is to put it in blocking mode. And a lot of clients in some mature geographies that I have come around, I've seen just a checkmark game. It's like, have you got a WAF? Check, your compliance is done. No, it's not. Unless you put that WAF in blocking mode, you have not really gained anything. You might as well remove it and increase your speed. So that's my worst experience, and they got hacked, like they should be.
And any other like, how like, I think that's a very easy way to be protected by enabling that mode. But what are the other ways to resolve these kind of issues with or without the solutions that F5 or your team is providing?
So it depends. What are you trying?
And I guess this question comes to what has been the world scenario. The question that Pradeep was asking was what has been the world scenario, and how can the police enterprise be more secured on that? Yeah.
So our experience as F5 has only been with one and only one thing in the last 26 years. We only do two things, and these two things revolve around application. We don't touch the network. We are layer 4 to layer 7. We don't care what's happening in layer 1 to layer 3. Layer 1 to layer 3 is dumb. Layer 4 to layer 7 is intelligent. Layer 4 to layer 7 is your crown jewels. Hackers don't go to your network. They can't steal anything from your network. Hackers can only steal something from your application. First and foremost, please protect your applications. I have seen how budgets get allocated. 70% or 80% of the budget goes into network. You bought the best switches, you bought the best routers, you bought the best layer 3 firewalls. But the hackers are attacking your application and you've only spent 30% of your budget on application protection. Flip it. 70% of the budget that you have should go on your application protection, because that's what the hackers are stealing from. Network is just a medium. Yes, of course you need to protect it, but flip your budget. That's what my recommendation would be.
Okay, great. So I guess I do have one more small question, Milan sir, there in the second seat. Yeah. Oh, you have the mic. Okay, great. So if there is any other question, we would be very glad to take. Okay, there is one lady there. So Milan sir, please, after you.
Yeah. Shall I go? Okay.
Yeah. Short and sweet, please.
Thank you very much, Sembal sir.
So if you ask me, I protect my systems, very much for those things where we keep very less eye. It's not only about the crown jewels. So whatever kind of cyber attacks you look within these 2 years, you please can refer each and one with his, their assessment reports and papers. Everything starts with the weak things. And we always have very less eye on the weak things. And it's not about your crown jewels or your network or application. It has to be a holistic approach. Every layer has to be protected. So if you are done with the one layer, you are done. Let me give you an example. Now you have a lot of devices in your infrastructure. You are connected to the internet. Now you are on the cloud. So your system administrator, he has access to each of those devices because you don't have the provision of having, one administrator for one device. Your maximum 1 or 2 administrator will have access to your all device. Now you are having much exposure. Let's say if there is any attacker who is residing in your administrator PC, he has access to all those points. So you are, rather than having, defense in depth architecture, you are giving more space to the attacker. Because within one day, any system your administrator can log on with the, high privilege credentials that can be exploited. So it means you have to have the perfect visibility of your entire infrastructure, whether it's a process, whether it's the people, whether they are using properly or not, whether it's the tech stack. And in tech stack, one of the greatest challenges that I see is we all say, I have this firewall, I have this, security details, security devices, this, platform. So have we done any assessment that within its capability, how much you are getting its value? So have we done any assessment? I think till now I have not done. And okay. So that is the thing. And to highlight that, I just want to give you an example. Each of us, we use the Microsoft, cloud email. And we also use the same platform as an email service. But the thing that happened was, so we used to get a lot of emails, phishing emails. And I asked to them, so I have paid this much amount of money and still I am getting, at least 10 phishing emails per day. What's wrong? And they said, no, it should be fine. It might be something. But while doing the assessment, the APT service was not enabled.
The Pradeep sir asked is, what is the thing that is emerging in the security versus speed, the challenge, the global scenario that is happening, and maybe that is keeping you awake. What is keeping you awake? And the third part, my question is, what is the way ahead that you want to? Maybe 1 minute or something like that, please, Sada sir. And then I'll come to Dilli sir and then to Naren sir. Yeah, please.
Okay, I answer ma'am's questions in short. That whatever security solutions and security devices and appliances you deploy to protect your critical infrastructure, but the only one thing that wake up me in the night is that whether the offline backup that I took recently works or not. Because all security solutions are not 100% secure, right? There is still probably, maybe it is the 99.9% secure, I think. 99.9% it protects our infrastructure, our data, our infrastructure. But there is still 0.1% probability of being hacked or being compromised. But my life saving is that the offline backup that I took recently. In the worst case scenario, that traditional approach that offline backup will save my life. But my concern will be that my offline backup that I recently took will work or not. That is important.
Okay, so I think that's one of the way ahead. So this is a same I. Yasmin, for me, I think it's the World Cup that is keeping me awake at the moment. So Dilli sir, what's keeping you awake, please? Yeah.
Yeah, agreeing with the previous speaker, two of our panelists. I further want to add some of the things that what about all these security measures that we keep in place. firewall, WAF, everything, whatever in place. The bottom line is security is that you should have that operational security in place. That includes the backup, even you have mentioned that correctly, the backups, all those malware protection, all those. The end-to-end security is important. It's not only the network level security on at the top that is sufficient. Whenever the last thing happens, that the lateral movement from one PC to another PC, one resource to another, that is the more concern. So when we want to stop that spreading of this lateral movement when the issues happens. So these are the more challenges that we might face in later on.
So I think Dilli Mansar is not awake. He's very well, sleeping very well in the night. So Naren sir, to final you, and I'll come to Dhananjay for that. So, and Dhananjay, I think I'm looking for the answers that I think they are raising, and how do you ensure that they have a very good night's sleep? Naren sir, yeah.
To be precise on this question, so I have only the two concerns that keeps me working at the night, is the first, as Sarat sir also said, is the data. Protection of data is always the essential thing, because if you have data, you can build around the systems, even if it takes 1 or 2 more days, so data is the crucial thing, and the backup is important. And beside that, it's not only the backup, it's all about any behavior, abnormal behavior that I see within my infrastructure. So these are the two things that I'm always concerned. So whenever I go back to office on the next day, so I will just have a quick look at these two things. If backup is okay, perfect. Is there any abnormal behavior in my infrastructure? Then that's okay. These are the two things.
Okay, thank you, Naren sir. So let me come to Dhananjay, and let me add some question, because I guess we are still in the traditional block of offline backup, operational security, and maybe end-to-end encryption, which is really good to have. But are we secure on the fly? Are we able to deploy on the fly? And are we able to But like the damage is already done, even if we have the backup data, because someone has already breached or someone has something as a bad has already happened. So how, as a service provider, how do you keep them keep their sleep?
It's a constant battle. There is no magic.
Yes.
There's no magic bullet that says, okay, if you put this and bing, you'll go to sleep forever, no problem. No, I'll give you an example. When bad actors come into your network, it costs them money. Please remember that. No hacker does it for free. He has to buy bandwidth, they have to buy servers, they have to buy cloud space, they need to come into your network, they have tools that they invest in. It is expensive hobby or a job. Hackers have now if it's state actors that are doing it, they have infinite resources. Let's not go there. But if it's a regular hacker, one of the techniques to use is, how do I make it more expensive for the hacker? Hacker will always retool. So you put a barrier, hacker will go around, but you raise that barrier. And then the hacker will go around, and then you raise that barrier further. That's the technique that is being deployed today. Now we are guilty of making this very complex. And when you make it very complex, you keep the customers awake, because they're wondering the policies that they have they deployed it across? And the environment is becoming complex. You no longer have all your applications in your data center. Right? It's a hybrid world. You have some in your data center, right in your backyard. Some of them are in the cloud. How is it that I have a uniform technology that gives me the same protection that I'm getting inside my data center, also in the cloud, and when I do policy changes, they happen simultaneously across my network? We address that part, and we are decreasing complexity tremendously as we SaaSify the technology. As you go onto the platform and consume the platform, you would that much be happier in sleeping, because the platform is taking care of it, and you don't have to have trained engineers in your premises that have to keep on retooling their skill set, because things are changing very rapidly.
The challenges that came across is, how do we understand the generic or genuine or fake traffic in this? How do you ensure the scalability? how do we basically move from monolithic application to a modern application framework? How do we, reduce the risk, resolve the issues, sync with each other is the challenges that I guess is coming. And as Dhananjay said, the layer of ensuring that we ensure that machines are performing in the efficient manner. And as some of the questions answered that came up is how do we resolve these problems? And I think some of the suggestions came up. As the final word that Dhananjay said is, this is nothing is fully 100%, but we can keep on evolving, we can keep on working on that, and that's, I think, is the one. And so I guess that's kind of a discussion and debate that we want to open up in this, and probably in the next breakout sessions we might have more interaction to talk to each other. This was just to give a kind of a sense of how this is happening, and from this industry what we can see is we are trying to reach there. We are little behind maybe in the place context, but I guess with the collaboration with this amazing technical community, I guess we can move forward. And I think that's thanks again to Eventless and F5 for bringing all the actors together for this session to discuss and deliberate on this way forward. Thank you to my panelists, and over to you, Disha. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for getting here today. My name is Devendra and I take care of the service provider business, basically for big operators here. And it's a monthly cadence we are doing here, me and my pre-sales support, Rajesh. So every month we are here to assess as how the business is going, what are the pain areas which we can solve. It's more of a joint partnership we are trying to develop here. And in this journey, definitely we'll look for your support, and we are here to support you for sure. And with that, let me hand over it to Anushya.